Good morning, everybody. MG here. MGCovers bringing you a brand new sports betting video. Title of this video is we're going to preview week 9 of the NFL season. We're going to give you all of my lines for all of the games, compare those to the sportsbook lines. I'm also going to reveal all of my plays for the Westgate Super Contest. I had to submit them yesterday, but I'm going to reveal all those as well. We'll probably talk a lot about some other stuff as well. As always, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you're interested in learning a lot about sports betting, I have a ton of content on my webpage, relevant content. If you want to learn the unadulterated truth about sports betting, it's a great channel to subscribe to. You will learn a lot simply by subscribing, watching a few videos. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm MGCovers, covers spelled with a Z. That's on Instagram and Twitter. Put a ton of content out on my storyline, give you tips, things that I see in sports betting that will help you. So you get a lot of value simply by following me on Instagram. So let's dive into it. NFL Week 9 sports betting preview. And there was a reason why I wanted to go public and talk about this week for a lot of reasons, and you're going to see that when we go through this. So first thing I'm going to do is we're going to go through these lines very quickly, and then we're going to come back and visit. So the first thing let's take a look at, let me pull this up where everybody can see it here. I think the audio is working good. See if we can make this big here. Yep, I like that. Okay, so all right, if you're looking at this, let me pull up. Okay, what you see there are my power rankings. Just to explain that while I pull something else up here. You see the highlighted team, that is the favorite, and you look out to the right of that is the actual line for that game. So you look at the very first one, Indianapolis is the favorite. We had Indianapolis minus 12.9, so we basically round that off to minus 13. Okay, so the first game we're going to look at, and again, I'm just going to go through these lines, and there's a reason why I'm going to make a point, but we're going to have to go through all these lines to see that. So again, these are my lines, and if you're new watching this video, this comes from my stat model. My stat model is 100% statistically driven, which means there's no bias factored in. It's a statistical calculation based on stats that correlate to winning. It's been a very successful model over the years. And so those of you that are building model, it's very important to have that because there's the sportsbook line has bias factored into that line. They set that line based on the public's perception of a team, or the stat model that I create is based 100% statistically driven. And more times than not, it's more accurate. All right, so let's take a look. I just want to see something, make sure everybody can see this. Okay. All right, so look at that Houston-Miami game. We got Miami minus 6. Sportsbook line is Miami minus 5. Well, actually, it's probably Miami minus 7, and we have Miami. Yeah, my line is Miami minus 7. Sportsbook line is minus 5. And usually what I will do, I want at least a 3-point differential, meaning a 3-point differential between my line and the sportsbook line. And if we have that, then we generally consider that a play. So only 2-point difference there. Denver, Dallas, we have Dallas at minus 9. Sportsbook line has Dallas minus 10. Minnesota, Baltimore, my line is Baltimore minus 6. Sportsbook line is minus 6.5. And I'm actually looking at the current lines at Pinnacle, by the way. New England, Carolina. New England, my line is minus 4.5. Sportsbook line is New England minus 3, 1.5 difference. Buffalo, Jacksonville, my line is minus 13.8, so we round that off to minus 14. Sportsbook line is minus 14.5. Look like it's bumped half. Cincinnati, Cleveland, my line is Cleveland minus 2. Sportsbook line is Cleveland plus 2. So now we finally, out of all those games, we have one game where there's a differential, and that's a 4-point differential. Las Vegas Giants, we have Vegas minus 2. Sportsbook lines minus 3. Let's slide over here to the other side. Whoops. Let's see if I can do this. Do I have to scroll all the way down and do it? Bear with me a second here. Okay. All right. Yeah, here we go. We'll get to the other side. All right. Atlanta, New Orleans. We have New Orleans -9. Sportsbook line is -7. Chargers, Philadelphia. We have this game as, if you rounded it off, probably Chargers -1. Sportsbook line, Chargers -1. Just notice that with the head. I emphasize that. Green Bay, Kansas City. Again, this crazy game. We all know that Aaron Rodgers is not going to play. And these stats do not, the way that I run, that you should do your stat model, you don't make any accommodations or you don't alter the stat model whatsoever. Because if I'm trying to factor in how many points should I factor in if Aaron Rodgers is not playing, well, that's something we factor what we call subjective handicapping. We never alter the stat model. We let the stat model stay pure. But this stat model does have Aaron Rodgers stats factored into it. So we'll still look at it as is. Green Bay -3, sportsbook line, as you know, Kansas City now -7. Arizona, San Francisco. Arizona is -6. Our line, sportsbook line, is Arizona +5. Murray is questionable. I haven't checked the latest, but I'm not sure if he's going to start. I think he will. I think he's just hurt. Tennessee Rams. We have Rams -1. Sportsbook line is Rams -7.5. And I don't have let me look at this Monday night game. So we have Pittsburgh -5. Sportsbook line, we'll sneak over here, is, and if you don't know where I'm at, this is Sportsbook Review, by the way, the screen you're looking at now. Yeah, Pittsburgh -6.5. Sportsbook line, my line is Pittsburgh -5. All right, the reason I want to go over all this is to make a point about the sports book. This is important. You can use this information and apply this to other sports. If you remember the beginning of the year, we played Arizona several times on the money line. Arizona was way undervalued. My stat model had Arizona, quote, as a good team. We were able to cash Arizona several times on the money line. Public hadn't caught on yet, and the sports book as well. Now you look later in the season, today's an exception to the rule, but Arizona is generally favored in most of their games. Same deal with the Cowboys. My stat model recognized the Cowboys as a, quote, good team. And of course, they were very undervalued. We made money off the Cowboys. You look at just the opposite of that. We never had the Chiefs way up in our stat model. I think they were in the top 5, maybe 1 week, but they were a very overrated team simply because they were Kansas City Chiefs. And of course, I think we played against them several times and cashed. So what you're seeing now, week 9 in the season, that's why you look at the majority of my lines as compared to the sportsbook lines. We only have maybe 4 games of value, but those other lines are very close to my lines. The sports books get extremely sharp. The general public and the sports books kind of have a general idea of who's a, quote, good team and who is not a good team. So it becomes very difficult to handicap these games. So what I'm going to do next, and so if you're just looking for value via my lines, the games with value, of course, we have, I would say, Cleveland, a little bit of value there, -2. I think that's really a toss-up game. Let's see. Let's slide over here to the other side. What was the other ones? Yeah, the Tennessee. I think this is people are way overvaluing Derrick Henry's injury. Tennessee, if you look, they've only lost 1 game by more than 7 points. That was the very first game of the season against Arizona. And I've talked about a sharp total. If you don't know what that is you just go back and take the total points that they're getting. Like for Tennessee, you go add 7.5 points to all of their scores year to date, and that will give you the sharp total. You do the same for the Rams. You go to the Rams, subtract all of the Rams games minus 7.5 to get the sharp total. So really, you don't have a lot of games that have value, which makes this week, I think, probably the most difficult week to handicap. So what I want to do now is I want to go through my plays for the Westgate Super Contest, and we'll slide over to this screen here. You can see here they have, within the big contest, they have several 3-week contests. I am sitting right now at 53% year to date in the contest. And what makes this contest so difficult is you have to pick 5 plays. So even if your stat model or how you handicap, you only have maybe 2 or 3 plays with value, you have to have 5 plays, and you have to get 5 plays in before, for me, 7 p.m. Eastern, because I have to send them to my proxy. A proxy is somebody that we pay to put our plays in physically at the Westgate, even though we're not in Vegas. All right, so we had a really good week. Last 2 weeks, we went 8-2. You can see me right here, MGCovers. First place is 5-0. What's interesting about these contests, if you've never done one, just a quick, give you an idea. There were 2 weeks ago, 108 people went 5-0, which is insane. Of those 108 people, none of those people went 5-0 the next week. And then last week, you only had 4 people that went 5-0. So we're in second place. If we win this week, it's going to be very difficult. I have to go 5-0 to even be considered. I think first place gets 75 grand, second place 50, and maybe third place 30, 33, 20 grand, something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my plays and the logic behind it for this week. So we'll sort of go to back to the model here. And the first one we're going to look at is Cleveland, Cincinnati. I always give my model consideration because, again, there's no bias factored in. Now again, these are not my plays that I'm physically wagering on with real money. These are going to be my 5 plays for the Westgate Super Contest. Okay. So Cleveland is at the Westgate Super Contest. I was able to get them at plus 2.5. Again, they're going to, I don't know that half point, because I think that line is now, let's see what book we're at. Yeah, Pinnacle, it's at +2. So we get just a tad bit of value there with a half point. But again, Cincinnati showed they were vulnerable last week, losing. When you're handicapping NFL, it's very important. The underdog's going to cover 53% of the time. It's actually up further than that. I'll show you this. If you go to covers.com, let's take, if you can do this for any sport. It's important to know how to do. Just click on NFL and slide over here to where it says league trends. And there it is against the spread. You can see dogs, 55%. So underdogs are covering 55%. And if you follow me long enough, a stat that nobody talks about in this business, the team that covers also wins 80% of the time. So if you're not incorporating playing dogs, specifically money line dogs, into your handicapping, you're losing out. So anyway, I like Cleveland in this situation, getting a 2.5. Obviously, they're going to probably have to win out. So that's my first selection. The second one, let's go over here, is going to be New Orleans. Slide over here. New Orleans. Again, my stat model has them at -9. The Super Contest, I could actually get them for 6. The Super Contest sets their lines. They don't change them. So I like this play. I know Simeon's probably going to play for New Orleans, but Atlanta has struggled. Let's go look at the so I am getting a little bit of value via my line. And I think this line we've actually had some line movement here today. Yeah, so that line has actually gone to, look at Pinnacle. I think it's moved to 7. Yeah, so that line's moved to 7. So I'm getting just a tiny bit of value in playing New Orleans there. Let's click on this. I mean, Atlanta's been competitive. They've definitely covered that 7. They got blown out by Tampa, blown out by Philadelphia, blown out by so those 2 games, but they've definitely covered. That's adding 6.5 points here. However, New Orleans has definitely done a really good job. They beat Tampa, blew them out. When I say blow them out, they covered that 6.5. Didn't against Seattle, did against Washington, lost against the Jets. So when they win, they definitely cover that 6.5. Again, it's a very difficult week to cap, but out of all the plays, New Orleans is my second pick. Okay, the third pick, we've already talked about this a little bit. Let's go back here and look at the model. Tennessee, you can see here, basically an even game. You might even say Rams minus 1. We're going to go with Tennessee. I can get Tennessee for plus 7.5 at the contest. Let's see what the actual line is here now. Let's see. It looks like it is. Yeah, it's still the same. It's still minus 7.5. So I get good value there. I think this is important to note about the Rams, and I think one of the reasons why the Rams are overvalued this week. Take a look at this. This is really interesting. I made a video a while back not factoring strength of schedule. However, in this particular, there's always exceptions to the rule, especially when you're comparing them against Tennessee. You look here, they beat Houston 38-22, Detroit 28-19, beat Giants 38-11. So not the best teams in the world. They've blown out. Beat Seattle 26-17. But you can look, they lost to Arizona 20-37. And that's been their only loss of the year. Beat Tampa, had a tough one against Indy. However, when you slide over here to Tennessee, or slide up to Tennessee, check this out. Indy beat 34-31, blew out the Chiefs, beat Buffalo, really good team. Many would argue best team in NFL, 34-31, beat Jacksonville as a blowout, lost to the Jets. That was a bad loss, but did beat Indy 25-16 and beat Seattle, second game of the season. Their only bad loss was Arizona, but again, that was the first game of the season. So if you add, going back to what I talked about earlier, if you add 7.5 points to all of these games for Tennessee, they've covered every single one. And understanding that 7.5 number is that means, let's see what it is at the sports book. Did I say it was 7? Yeah, that'd be interesting to watch if you plan on playing that, if you're actually going to play that game. Now I've done lost it here. Okay, it looks like it is at 7.5 at most of the books. That line could be 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5. That's basically the same line. Because at the end of the day, if the line is 7.5 up to 9.5, the Rams have to beat Tennessee by 2 possessions. And when you look at Tennessee has not lost by more than a touchdown any of their games. In fact, they've won, the last 6 out of the last 7. And the only time they didn't cover adding 7.5 was that first game of the season. So even with the injury, I think it's going to be very, 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 very difficult for the Rams to win by more than 1 touchdown. And again, I think that line is the public sort of overreacting to the Rams, consider they've blown out these 3 teams. But you look, that was Houston, Detroit, and Giants that they've blown out. Okay, so that was my third play. The fourth play, we're going to go roll with. We're going to go with Vegas. We have Vegas -2. My line, sportsbook line is -3. So again, not value. Again, this is just a contest. I have to submit 5 plays. So in a real live situation, wagering real dollars, I probably wouldn't play this. But again, I like this play. I think what's interesting to note about Vegas, we talked about this earlier. I think today is an it's a team that's overcome adversity. when Gruden was fired. I think a lot of people overreacted to that. That was with the week they played Denver. You saw a lot of line movement move against Vegas, move in favor of Denver, and Vegas ended up blowing out Denver. And if you read several articles after the fact, the team actually was sort of liberated now that Gruden was gone. Again, I'm not getting to the political aspect of it, but I'm just saying where the majority of the public thought that would hurt Vegas, it didn't have any bearing on that one. So let's dive into sort of their schedule there. And one thing too, right out the gate, you can look at the last 7 games. I mean, year to date, Vegas is 5-2. Giants are 2-6. Let's go take a look at Giants here. Giants lost to KC. It was a competitive game, 17-20, beat Carolina. Got blown out by the Rams, got blown out by Dallas, beat New Orleans overtime. Close one there to Atlanta, close one to Atlanta. So they've been competitive, but they do have a propensity to get blown out. Got blown out by Denver, Rams, and Dallas. Let's take a look at Vegas. Vegas playing well. They beat Philadelphia 33-22, beat Denver. That was a game I talked about, 34-24. Did lose to Chicago, and Chargers beat Miami in overtime. Pretty good win against Pittsburgh. And, of course, first game of the season, had a win over Baltimore. So that was really – it was sort of like, which game to pick. I just thought that was one of the better ones, considering, they've won their last 2, got some momentum here. And you look at the Giants, they've only won 1 of their last 4. So when you have a line of -3, that's basically a pick-em game. So all you're trying to decide is who do you think is going to win that game? In my opinion, it's the Giants. And sportsbook line is -3. My line is -2. So that was the reason and logic I went behind that. Okay, that was the 4th play. The 5th play that I picked is, let's go back to my power rankings. Oops, yeah, we're going to go with the Chargers here. The Chargers, that line is -1, and sportsbook line is -1. And what I think is happening in this one, I think this line, if you would have backed up, if this line would have been maybe 3-4 weeks ago, Chargers would have been maybe -4.5, -5, even maybe -6.5. Chargers have struggled here lately. You can see lost to New England, did not get blown out, did get blown out against Baltimore. But you can see there they had some really good wins. Cleveland, Vegas, Kansas City, lost to Dallas in a close one, beat my Redskins there. Yeah, that's the first game of the season. So there's a term in sports betting called, or just in general, regression to the mean. So I think, in my opinion, Chargers are a good team. They just had a couple weeks of a bump, and I think you'll see them move back to being a, quote, good team, whereas Philadelphia here, they beat Detroit, blew them out. But, again, we know Detroit's not a good team. They did get blown out by Vegas, got blown out by – but did get blown out by Tampa. I think they had a late cover there, if that was the one I'm thinking correctly. Did beat Carolina, got blown out by KC, got blown out by Dallas. So, when you look at it, you're betting, you're wagering against, you're getting -1 against a team that has only won 2 games all year. Is that correct? 3 games, but only won. They beat it, and see that other wins. Look at their wins. The wins were against Atlanta, Detroit, and Carolina. So, and of course, let's take a look at, going back to Chargers. Chargers have better quality wins. And consider we're only getting only have to lay -1. Actually, at this contest, it was -1.5. So just to review those, if you're joining late, my plays for the Westgate Super Contest, not plays that I'm personally wagering, we have Cleveland, New Orleans, Tennessee, Vegas, and Chargers. Another one I gave consideration to were Green Bay, Arizona, and the Cowboys. So just for reference there. So anyway, if you're looking, let's see right here, my NFL power rankings. If you want to become a client, you can get access to these power rankings in addition to my college football power rankings. If you follow me on Instagram, my college football power rankings went, what was that, 11-8 yesterday, 58% just off the stat model with no handicapping. Very good power rankings. The power rankings for college football are built off of these power rankings you see here for NFL. That's $49.95 per month. You get access to all of my coaching videos. I release a new coaching video, at least once a week. If you want to get access to all my plays, in addition to everything I mentioned just now, that's $99 per month. And if you want to join for an entire year, you get a savings of over $600. That is $499 for the entire year and gives you access to everything on the site. Links to join are in the description below. If you like this video, give it a like. Greatly appreciate all the subscribers, and we will talk to you guys soon. Peace.